You are listening to Phone Eats First. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Phone Eats First, a podcast about romanticizing life and finding inspiration inside and outside of the kitchen. My name is Momma May, and today we have
Ruthan May,
aka Momma May, is back on the pod to celebrate 1 year alcohol-free as of 2 days ago. 368 days free now because it was a leap year.
Wow, it was even longer.
Well, thanks for coming back on the podcast against your will. Before we get into today's episode, all about what life was like removing alcohol, how you feel, all the fun stuff, we're going to get into a weekly report of just you. So, what are you reading?
I'm reading Throne of Glass.
What book are you on?
I don't know.
How do you not know what book you're on?
Fire.
You're on Air of Fire because you're not on part 2 yet. You're behind me. We're both on Air of Fire. Okay, E, what are you either eating or excited about?
I am eating the same basic things every day, and it is 1.5 grass-fed, grass-finished hamburger patty with a sweet potato and something green, or chicken breast with coconut rice and something green.
That's it? This is for lunch, right?
Well, it's kind of a rotation. It just gets the need done. It gets the good protein and it fills me up. And I am now gluten-free and dairy-free, which I did not know the last time we met. So yeah, I do have a restricted diet. So those things are they meet the diet.
Lovely. Okay, what's P, plan?
I am leaving in an hour to go to a women's retreat up in Beaufort, and I'm so excited. This is my 3rd year, and we do lots of yoga. It's spiritual based, and there's just been a lot of good things that have come from it each time I've gone. The first year I went, my kind of talk with God was, okay, I'll go back to therapy. Then last year, I knew I was starting on my alcohol-free journey, so I just prayed that I would succeed in that journey. And so this year, since I'm going to be retiring soon, we'll kind of be thinking about what my next chapter is.
Woo. Okay, O, obsession.
Athleta. I've become very bougie, and I really like Athleta, and Santa and Mrs. Claus really brought it home this Christmas for me. So no, I just enjoy the product. They have the best running shorts that are like the bike shorts, 5 inches, phone fits in there, great colors, just everything's really good product.
Obviously, Kendall bought handpicked every single thing out, not me. I had nothing to do with it. Okay, R, recipe.
Actually, Momma May, R is for retirement. So I wanted to say that women are really lucky that we get different seasons of our life. So there's the college, the growing up, then you might get married, then you have kids, and I was fortunate to be a stay-at-home mom. And then I had to go back to work, and now I'm having a season of retirement. So women are just really lucky, whereas men are just kind of grinding it their whole life, whereas we have other opportunities.
Interesting topic there. Okay, T, treat.
Date bark.
Welcome to the club. The cult. Okay, that was the weekly report. Now let's get into the episode. So I don't know what you were wanting to talk about, but I mapped out this episode as kind of 5 steps. So step 1, how did you do it? Step 2, what do you do instead of drinking? Step 3, the external changes. Step 4, the internal changes. And then step 5, what's next? So starting off with step 1. How did you do it? How did you remove alcohol from your life? Was it hard? Do you miss it?
Well, I removed alcohol from my life in 2020 for 8 months, and I just needed to. I didn't have a good relationship with it. And I was a binge drinker and didn't drink every day. Not an alcoholic. I really don't believe I am. But I just didn't have a good relationship with it. So sometimes didn't want to press the stop button. So in 2020, I just knew it was time. And so I did a lot of the work mentally. I had to kind of grieve the loss of it in my life. I don't know if you remember, we went to the beach one time and we're unpacking and the music's playing and we're at the little bungalow in Topsail, and I was so excited, but I knew I wasn't going to drink, and I was just having all these feels. So I called my good friend Angie, and she's like, Ruthan, you're grieving the loss of your buddy. So I had to cry a little bit, and then once I understood what I was going through, then I could deal with it and move on. But I'd say that time was kind of more of a struggle, just because I was going through all the first, what do you say when you go out? What do you say when someone says, what do you want to drink? I would even role play in my head before I would go to a bar and say, what if they ask me? What am I going to say? So I did a lot of that work then. Then the day my granddaughter was born, I was like, oh, I'm going to have a beer. And then 4 years later, I decided, or is that 3 years? 3 years later, then I decided again that it was time to. So I went back to the binging behavior and that type of thing, and I'd be hungover for days and depressed, so depressed, in a fog, the roller coaster of another weekend, another Saturday, not feeling good. I mean, some people can just get up and do the next day, but I cannot. And I think as we get older, it definitely has more of an effect on our body. So in January of last year, I was like, I'm done. But I actually had one last binge, and that was New Year's Eve. And that was bad. It was like it was more like a 4-day hangover. So I deserved it. But yeah, I knew it was my last hurrah, and I felt like crap. It was horrible.
So do you miss any of it?
I do not. I think you romanticize. It's very normal to romanticize alcohol. I mean, we have all the marketing and everything. I mean, we live at the beach now, and Coronas and limes out on the deck, out on the beach. It all is just fabulous. But I've then got to remember how I'm going to feel when I wake up the next day. And I'll tell you, moms out there, your kids don't enjoy seeing you drunk. I don't think you're living your best life when you're drunk. And I am so much more present now and intentional, and I have energy. I can come back from the beach and cook. I wake up the next day. I'm waking up first, which Corey was amazed with. I never was the one to get up early. Always felt like crap. Didn't even want to have coffee the next day because I wanted like a Diet Coke or something. And so when you really are honest with yourself about how you are going to feel, then it is so not worth it. And I'm to the point now, Corey, where I just can't even imagine drinking again. It is that much of a negative, and my life is too good. And what's cool is, so I started drinking when I was in high school. And that's just what we did in high school. Again, not an alcoholic, but it was just part of our social life. That's what we did. And alcohol's been a part of my life since high school. And I just went to my 40th high school reunion. And so that's a lot of years. And so I'm really living my life for the first time without alcohol in it as an adult. And so it's so incredible to not even have to think about it. I don't have to think about who's going to drive. I just, when we go out, it's just such a non-issue in my life right now.
Okay, step 2. What do you do instead of drinking?
Definitely in the beginning, it was important for me to still have the habit of ordering something. So I would ask what non-alcoholic beer the place had, because I'm a beer drinker, and so that was fine. Might even have 2, but it's interesting how you don't have 5 or 6 non-alcoholic beers. You have 1 or 2. Now I've noticed I don't even need to do that when I've gone out. I can just order whatever it is I want. Seltzer water. A lot of people that drink cocktails like vodka tonics, they order seltzers. So a club soda and lime is also really good, and that's what I drink at home anyway. So, but I think it's important to think about what you want to replace it, and then you don't have that anxiety or anything. But I think it's really important to be successful is to have a plan.
What kind of plan?
A plan of what you're going to order when you go out. Did I not make that clear?
No, a plan sounded a lot more in depth than that. Okay, but instead of when you're out at like a restaurant or a bar and you want to order something to hold, I mean, I do the same thing. I get sparkling water and lime because it even looks like a drink. So if someone asks, you're just like, yeah, whatever. You don't have to bother. But what do you do with all this extra time? Because alcohol is in probably hours of people's weeks. So that's a lot of time you have.
I love to run. So what I've really seen that's improved my life a lot is I would start to see some progress with my running, and then I'd have, a fun weekend, fun and not so fun because of the hangovers. Then Monday, it would be like taking 3 steps forward, 2 steps back every week. Well, right now, my VO2 max is a 37, which is excellent. Which what that means? It's my cardiovascular fitness, but also my fitness age is now 29. I mean, we think it keeps going down, like I'm gonna be an infant soon. But I mean, a year and a half ago, my fitness age, I was, in my 50s, and I'm 58. So that I've seen that improve a lot. But also, I don't have the desire to go out like I did. On Thursday nights, Kendall would get home, and I'd say, let's go to the restaurant. We'd sit at the bar. We'd have appetizers. We might have 4 to 6 beers. And it was fun, but then I'd feel like shit the next day, and sometimes I wouldn't even feel like working out. I mean, that's not an every week thing, but I don't even want to go out as much. Also, the restricted diet, there's not many places I can eat, but I just don't have the desire, and that's okay. But I can go to the beach now by myself with my water, walk on the beach, and just be so content with myself. And yeah, there's just a lot of other things that have come from this.
Okay, step 3, external changes. And this is the part everyone else wants to know about. What's actually changed in your life? So more so with external changes, I don't mean your body. I mean, like, socially, you've maintained and adapted to a new lifestyle. We already talked about what you feel like you're missing, but how has your relationship with others, with yourself, all of that changed?
So I had to back away from the social setting that I was in. I had to separate myself and to take care of myself. Self-care is, I would say, that was the word of 2024 for me. And if I knew some friends were going to go out to lunch, then they were going to go to the bar, day drink. I didn't want to do that because I was not in the headspace to want to sit there and watch other people drink. And it didn't even sound fun for me. So I actually had some friends where I hurt their feelings because I stopped going out with them. But I felt like I didn't drop them. I dropped the activity and the behavior. And then also with my husband, that's a big one. He still drinks. And sometimes I have actually just said, I've never wanted it to be about him. This is my journey. You can't guilt someone into doing something. They have to come to this on their own. But sometimes I've just said, I need you to take one for the team today and not drink. so that you'll be in the same headspace as me. You're not going to be all chatty, wanting to go out and all that kind of stuff. You'll just be present with me. And I think that's okay to ask for that. So the other thing that's changed, and I guess this comes back to the time, is by making the decision to not drink anymore, I then knew I wanted to start a women's walking, running group in Charlotte because they did not have one. And the reason why this one small decision allowed this for me, because in the past, I did a lot of day drinking here. It's just kind of what everyone does, which was a lot of fun. But I knew that I could commit. I was not going to be day drinking that day. I was not going to be hungover that day. I knew that every single day I was going to feel good. So I finally was able to make a commitment to host this women's program, and it has been so incredible. So these new friends of mine, they want to exercise. They train for races. One of the friends is 77 years old. So I've met this whole new group of women, all because I made this one decision to stop drinking. So that's on Tuesday nights. I do that. Then because of this group of women, I then met another friend, and she invited me to be a mentor for a group called She Moves. And this is a 10-week 5K or 10K beginner running program. And so I was able to be a mentor for that. Again, meeting another whole group of women that are in the same headspace as me, as wanting to be healthy and move your body and feel good. And it's just been so incredible. And I just feel like, how incredible is all this? And one of my gifts is encouragement. I love to encourage people. So it's like I'm in God's will for my life now, all because I made that one decision to stop drinking.
That was good. How has your relationship to yourself changed?
I like myself a whole lot more. I used to live with a lot of shame and, well, certainly depression, but I did not feel good about who I was. You know, when you get a few cocktails in you run your mouth. I remember, so I've been on 2 girls' beach weekends where I have not drank, where I used to try and keep up with everybody. But I remember waking up from the first morning with almost tears in my eyes, thinking, oh my gosh, I feel good. I don't have to think about, whose feelings did I hurt because of something I said, or was I just obnoxious last night, or whatever. I mean, I just feel good about who I am. And I went to my 40th high school reunion, and if you want to think about a place where you want to drink, that would be one of them. But I knew I wasn't. But I felt so confident and so reflective on who I was as a high school kid, and wanting, drinking because that's what everyone else did, and that made you feel a part of things, and that gave me confidence at the time, so to speak. But at the reunion, I just felt so good about where I was and where I am now. And the people I told, they were high-fiving me and that kind of thing. And what I find interesting, Corey, is if I mention that I'm not drinking, a lot of people immediately turn around to them and they go, well, I like to drink, or, well, I'm not there yet. So it does kind of make them think. And I just say, look, this is my journey. Good for you if that works for you, but it doesn't work for me anymore. So this is just my journey.
All right. Step 4, internal changes. So first, what are your physical changes? Have you lost weight? Are you less puffy? Or maybe none of the above? And are you frustrated with the lack of weight loss that everyone would think that they would see?
The first time I did this, I didn't lose a single pound. So I really strongly told people even then, I was like, alcohol is so pervasive in our society. Losing weight is not going to be a big enough reason for you to stop drinking. It's just not. And also, I don't think it makes you lose weight. That being said, when I stopped drinking this year, it was for my mental health. It was for my mental well-being. It was for my physical health. It was for so many reasons. I just wasn't living my best life with it. So then we had the Mother's Day episode, and I said I went and saw a functional medicine doctor. Well, I got all the test results, and alcohol causes a lot of inflammation in your body. Well, so does gluten, and so does dairy. And we have been working since April of last year on healing my body. My liver wasn't working right, and that was not because of alcohol. They said I would have had a whole lot of other problems if that was the reason. My body was not absorbing nutrients, and if your liver doesn't work right, everything goes through. So your hormones, my cortisol was off the chain, just so many things. So in fact, you can see a difference now in my puffiness. My face is thinner, and I don't weigh myself. I stopped doing that a few years ago because that was such a negative thing for me. So, but what I can tell is how my body looks, and I'm gaining more muscle now. So actually, I think I'm probably around 5 pounds the same, but because I'm gaining muscle and the inflammation is gone, I'm a lot slimmer. My skin, oh my gosh, your skin gets so much better through this whole process. Alcohol is going to dehydrate you, and my sleep is better. And one of my friends said, "Oh, I sleep great." And I'm like, "Really? Do you? Do you pass out? Is that why you sleep good?"
Sleep score.
What's your sleep score? That's a big thing for our family. Yes, I sleep incredible. I don't wake up. Now, this is interesting. Now that I don't drink, if I have a sugar binge, I do like me some Twizzlers. If I have me a whole pack of Twizzlers, I will wake up the next day with brain fog and funk and tired, exactly like being hungover.
Even if I just have sugar at any point during the day, like yesterday, I got my birthday free Starbucks, and since it's free, Chris and I were like, "Oh, let's spice it up a little, like make it as basically as expensive as you can." And so I put cold foam on it, and it was so sweet. And then also at lunch, there was no sparkling water, so Chris got a soda to like have some bubbles, and I was like, "Oh, I want a few sips of that." I felt disgusting. Like the car ride home, I was like, "Don't ever let me have a sip of your soda again," and like the sugar from the drink. So I get a sugar hangover 30 seconds later.
Yeah, absolutely.
I cut off your train of thought. Okay, other physical, but like lifestyle, everyday activities. So we talked about sleep. How have your exercise, motivation, diet, cravings, the rest of your health changed?
My motivation has increased so much. It's all kind of wrapped into my whole wellness thing with healing my gut and all that kind of stuff. But I used to say I was lazy, but I wasn't. I didn't feel right. My body wasn't working to its potential. So I've always been known as a napper, but now that I think about it, so I've been through some childhood trauma, and I realize sleep is a way I heal, and that's okay. And even now, this is something I wanted to mention. Like, if you have a trigger in your life, something happens, something triggers you, I can move through it so much quicker now. So I know the tools. I have tools in my toolbox now. So if I have a trigger that's going to throw me into crying, that kind of thing, going deep, really deep, it's going to pull out the junk. Well, that's going to like just create all this yuck in my body. And so now I know that I'm going to need to sleep, and that's okay. That helps me. I have a therapist now I can talk to. I can go for a run. There's other things that you can look into. So I wanted to mention your lymphatic system. That's how your body detoxes. And when you have a trigger, that's going to trigger your cortisol and your fight or flight mode and all that stuff. So you got to figure out how to get that back out of your body and get your body regulated again. So there's a lot of things you can do for yourself that can help regulate your body and get yourself back balanced. So I would say that I can balance a lot quicker. I know what's going on. I'm very aware, and I don't have the alcohol to muck all that up and confuse me with I can really just I'm so much more in tune with my body.
Lovely. Any other changes you want to discuss? I was going to ask about mental and emotional, but I feel like you covered those. Life without anxiety. Okay, step 5. What's next?
All because of making this one decision. My life this past year has just been incredible. I feel like I'm on the path that God wants me to be on, using my gifts. And so started off with the Shalot Striders, then the mentor group. This is so cool. So I am actually retiring from Go Far January 31st. And I really feel like maybe coaching is in there somewhere, life coaching or something like that. Well, God led me to start a Dry January group. And on Facebook, it's a private group, women only. There are 39 women that have joined this group. And so we started January 1st, and I just kind of tee up some questions. And the magic is in the group talking, communicating, because already it's been so cool because I've, said, all right, weekend's coming up. Think about what you're going to say when you go to the bar, when you do whatever you're going to do. And already it was really cool. One of my friends said, I'm going to go wedding dress shopping, and I'm going to bring my alcohol-free sparkling rosé. And I was like, way to go. So she made a plan to succeed. Then another one of the members said, oh my gosh, I'm getting ready to go bridal, wedding dress shopping. So that's a great idea. So women, I'm just seeing how women are just so hungry for connection and encouragement and even just a little bit of direction. And God has allowed me through running and these groups to be in women's lives, and I just love encouraging them and helping them. So how that turns into anything, if it can be monetized or anything, I don't know, and maybe that's not the plan, but for right now, I'm just going to keep seeking opportunities to encourage and using, God works all things for good, and I've been through some shitty things, some really shitty things, and if he can use that to help other people, and I'm just going to be a tool and make myself available to do that. And fear, there's always fear of doing something new, putting yourself out there, but fear is not from the Lord. So if he gives me the spark, then I know that's something that I need to pursue.
All right, and last question before we get into some rapid fire. What advice do you have for anyone that is sober curious / even considering removing alcohol for just a short period of time from their life?
I would say just do it. But one of the best books that everyone seems to agree on is by Annie Grace. It's called The 30-Day Alcohol Experiment. And it's just, if you're curious. So what is so great about it is it takes you through the reasons maybe why you started drinking. It goes through the physical side effects. It even asks you, do you really think alcohol tastes good? Really. So think about when you maybe had your first sip of beer. Did you like beer, Court?
Okay, I think I said this in a podcast at some point, or maybe I didn't. I have no idea. But I had this conversation recently with I think it was my college friends, and I've never liked the taste of alcohol. I enjoyed wine for a bit, and I don't really anymore, but I think wine tastes good. Beer can taste good. If you're in the mood for it, a crisp, cold beer can taste good. I don't think a single liquor on this planet tastes good. And I was talking about that because that's also, the other night, Chris and I went to dinner, and I was like, "Ooh, I kind of want a cocktail. Like, it'd be fun." It was New Year's Eve. I was like, a celebration, whatever. And then I was like, why would I put tequila in a club soda with lime when I don't even like the tequila? And it's not like I'm going to have 2 drinks. I just want one. I don't like the taste. But some of my friends like the taste. And that was mind blowing for me to hear. I was like, oh, you actually like tequila? And they were like, yeah, I think it tastes good. And that was news to me. So that's a valid point.
So now when I'm craving, or it's not even craving, but now when Dad and I have been working out in the yard or something like that, and we want a beer, I just go get and Athletic Brewing is the best, by the way. All they brew are non-alcoholic beers. I get a cold Athletic beer, pour it in a glass. It's cold, it's refreshing, you drink it. What is it about it that why do you have to have alcohol for that? And I will say I'm proud of my man. He's not claiming to go alcohol free or anything, but for right now, he hasn't had anything in over a month. And I think it was over Thanksgiving, our son and her boyfriend, I think, were having a beer maybe. Kendall just reached for an Athletic. And he said that was fine. It still gave him that. It still satisfied the need. So really think about it, because I bet when you were little or younger, not little, when you were younger, you probably didn't like it. So anyway, back to Annie Grace. That is a great book. Buy it. And if you can do the 30 days, she's just saying just think about these things. And when you become more intentional and thinking about what is this beer going to do for me? What is it really going to do for me? I just think about those things, and I think that really helps.
Okay, to end the episode, I've got some rapid fire for you. What is your favorite beverage?
Relight, electrolyte drink.
Favorite non-alcoholic beer?
Athletic.
Favorite mocktail, something you can pour in a wine glass?
Kombucha and seltzer.
What is your guilty pleasure?
Wow. I would say eating date bark, sitting in my chair, watching a really good movie.
How much money do you feel like you've saved from not spending money on alcohol?
I don't know, but there is an app for that.
Well, I remember at first it was none because you were buying all these other drinks instead.
True.
How much better do you sleep at night?
Incredible.
How's the brain fog?
Gone.
Do you have more memories from the year?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. It was so bad. I feel so much shame about last Christmas a year ago, because I drank. Me and Charlie were trying to tie one on. I didn't know some of the presents. Well, we overdid it with presents, so to be fair. But I was like, Corey, where did this come from? She goes, that's yours, and I gave it to you. I was like, oh, that's so bad. So this year, it was just lovely. Because if you're honest, the day after Christmas sucks. It's sad. There's been so much all year, but I am so much more, like I said, balanced, but my emotions are not roller coasters anymore. And so I'm much more stable. Also, something that's going to come of this and healing my gut is, if your gut is not healthy, you probably have anxiety and depression. I would almost bet on it. And so now that I'm healing that, I'm going to start tapering off my antidepressants, which I never had hope of that. And because even my psychiatrist, he's like, oh, yeah, you can be on that forever. Well, no, you should have an exit plan, but that's not how they do those drugs. So I am going to start that journey this year, and it may take me 2 years. It may take me 3 years, but at least I have hope of that now. And as my doctor said, I have agency. So I will have the power if I decide, well, no, I still maybe need a little bit. Then that's my choice, and not being stuck. So I'm looking forward to that. I'm scared, but I'm looking forward to that.
Any last words for our Phone Eats First crew?
I will say that just think about it and give yourself a chance. Give yourself a chance to try the alcohol-free lifestyle, even if it's for a month, even if it's 2 weeks. I think you'll be surprised at how you feel, but you've got to give it a chance. I will say, Corey, that it does help that you're not drinking much anymore, because do you remember when we were at the beach and I wasn't drinking and you're like, and then Dad wasn't going to drink that day and you're like, oh no, you've got to drink. We can't have two people, not fun. And I was like,
and you used to do the same thing to me when I wasn't drinking. You're like, Corey, have a freaking beer. And I was like, no, that made me want to have one even less. She would yell at me to drink.
See? Yeah, it's a lot more peaceful environment, but lots of kumbaya. But so maybe, that lifestyle feeds on each other, but this healthy lifestyle also feeds on each other, and it's so much better. Aren't you proud of me?
Instead of having a drinking buddy, have a non-drinking buddy. That was good.
Mic drop.
Well, that's all we've got for you today on this sunny, windy, bright episode here. Oh, camera's moving now.
Maybe has been.
Coming live from Charlotte, North Carolina. If you can see the view. Well, thanks for coming back on.
Thank you.
Till the next time. Thanks, guys, for listening. Hope you have a wonderful day, week. Follow along at Phony's First Pod on Instagram, Corey_in the kitchen on Instagram and TikTok, and
wherever you saw me, wherever you hear me. What?
Where can they find you?
Oh, me? Ruthan.
Dry January Facebook group. Search it on Facebook. You'll see a million options.
How about ruthanmay@gmail.com? That's my email. Reach out to me. Love to chat.
We will talk soon. You are listening to Phone Eats First.